King Crimson had this weird undercurrent of energy that none of us really put into it. It just existed. We were carried along, really. Even down to the way the album cover came about. I think Pete had a friend who was a graphic artist, and he came in one day and he just dropped this album cover on the floor, and it was the screaming man face. And of course, we instantly, all of us said, "Oh, it's fantastic," you know. And the terrible irony of that is that the day after that, the guy who did it, Barry Godber, dropped dead of a heart attack on the pavement, which, when you look at the cover, is very disturbing. I still find that quite disturbing, to look in the eyes of that screaming man and wonder.
You don't want to be a guy who does the art for ALP, because most of them are dead.
Tarka's artist, Will Neal, died, or might have committed suicide actually. He's a fantastic artist, great imagery on the front. The only mistake I think with Tarka's is when you open it up, there's a lot of little caricatures of this animal and things, and I think we could have been a bit more sophisticated, and that could have been a real sort of story of chemical warfare type of thing, if you know what I mean. Things that are relative to today were relative then, but we kind of made it a little bit of a caricature, a little bit of a puppet, you know, and the Tarkas wasn't serious. It almost looked like a furry animal. That was the only thing I didn't like about the album, but the front cover, that image and the music, superb.
The guy who did Trilogy, Fabio Nicolai, he died. I think the guy did Pictures.
What used to happen every time there'd be an album is there'd be a sort of a rush around to see, you know, who could do a great cover. And I remember taking the pictures for Trilogy out in Epping Forest.
And there's three of us would be hiding behind a bush or a tree or kneeling down. A funny story with that is we were in rehearsals one day in the Fulham Road. We bought the Odeon Cinema there, and it was the Manticore house basically, and we used to rehearse upstairs in the foyer. Anyway, we were upstairs one day. Trilogy had been made, it was out, and I think we were getting ready to go on tour. We were rehearsing furiously, and one of the road crew had been to some pub in the North End Road, Fulham, walked in and said, "Oh, look what I found." And what it was a single piece of paper, like a handout. It was for a gay club. But the photo they had used was Keith and myself kneeling down by this bush. Which looked rather strange because they'd cut Greg out of it because he was standing up. Anyway, we called them up and they stopped doing it immediately. But yes, that was Trilogy.
I had a lot of ideas for brain salad surgery, and as we know, the title came after meeting with H.R. Giger and seeing his incredible artwork.
Somewhere along the way, and I'm not sure whether it was in the early days as a journalist or whether it was during my time as a press agent, I went with Keith to Giger's house in Switzerland. And as far as I can recall, the house was the most incredible kind of testimony to his artwork, because he'd painted on the walls. You know, he's got these kind of very Gothic-looking thrones in the hallway and arms joined together with a syringe and all this kind of weird stuff. We thought, God, no, you know, what's that all about? He'd done these incredible murals of kind of cyber beings that were part machine, part human being. It was really like seeing the Alien before the Alien ever came out, which of course he was responsible for. Anyway, as we walked through his house, he had this piece of artwork, which was the brain salad surgery cover. We looked at it and thought, wow. You know, where does that come from? It was quite terrifying, actually, particularly at night. And I seem to remember seeing it in candlelight for some reason. All these things, and it was a bit frightening. You know, I said I'd always take you to Love Beach.
Ahmed Ertegun, the president of Atlantic Records, wanted to meet with us because we did owe him another album. But Ahmed said to us, just go into the studio, just jam. So you don't have to play big concept pieces or anything like that. He said, what we need is what the record company needs, what the radio stations need is 3-minute single material.
The album cover, for a start, is, before you even get to the music, is just the worst. We look like the Bee Gees on the front of it. God bless them, you know, there's nothing wrong with the Bee Gees, but it wasn't right for us.
I didn't like the title, and particularly the album cover. I thought it was like naff.
I think you don't want to be doing their artwork.